Hey guys, it's Scott Horne with Horne and Associates PC. We're going to take a minute here and just talk about land trust and LLC ownerships and what's kind of the difference between the two and some thought processes along the way. So I hope you like the video. If you do, please take a minute and like it. Click below for any comments and fill that out. We'll get back to you on those. And come join us at our YouTube channel as well. So land trusts, LLCs, what should I do? How should I do it? You know, there's so many variations. I'm not sure if I can talk about it in this video because it might take too long. But one, if we're buying investment property, my first comment is I always like to buy it inside of a corporate entity of some type, an LLC, a corporation, limited partnership, where you have corporate protection, as we call it. That's just, I think, good business along the way. And you can buy any kind of a property into a corporate entity. You can buy it if you're getting a DSCR loan, you can do that. If you're getting a loan from your commercial bank, you can do that. If you're getting from private lending, you can do it. Hard money lending, you can do it. The only time that you're not going to be able to buy a property into a corporate entity is if you're getting a traditional mortgage on the property. They want to see that in your personal name in those scenarios. But once you buy it inside the LLC, you've got it. And of course, it's just learning how to navigate things within the scope of your entity, realizing where liability may or may not be along the way, maintaining your corporate entity so it's always in good standing so they can't pierce that veil in some format. But buying homes in the LLC is a very traditional mechanism into the corporation, very traditional as well. And so that's the first thing where you want to go is don't buy them in your personal name. Along the way, when do we use a land trust? What is a land trust? Why do people want to use a land trust? You know, this came around about 10, 12 years ago, I think. And, you know, the first thing with land trust is oh, you got to do this so I have anonymity. And, you know, I always say when I'm talking to people out there right now is that for all my 35 years, that's the one thing I have never worried about is anonymity. Because I believe if you're doing things the right way, taking care of things, people don't come out and hunt you down just to sue you unless you're screwing something up. And so do you need to incorporate that in there? No, not at least for that reason. But I understand people do want that, and that's not anything wrong. It's just, do you need it or not? Next is realizing what a land trust really is, because a land trust is not a legitimate trust unless you file a tax ID number for it, where it files its own tax return and you actually have an entity inside that trust. Most investors do this just to create anonymity, and the beneficiary of that land trust becomes the corporate entity, the LLC or the corporation, etc., which does give you more liability by doing that, because technically you're buying that property into the corporate entity when you do it that way. It's just creating the shield down at the deed records where they don't see your corporate entity as the beneficiary. They see the land trust as the owner. So can that happen? Sure. And it does create some opportunities for us and some things to think about. Now, keep in mind, if something messes up in your deal, you buy this property, you sell the property, you lease it, whatever it might be, and somebody sues you, and you think you're going to hide behind that land trust, think again. Because when they sue you, they're going to sue you, they're going to oppose you, they're going to find out everything you got out there, and you got to disclose all these things. So they can get to it if they want to. I just don't find it as a habit where people go out and research deed records to see what you have to decide whether or not they want to sue you or not. Because if you've screwed somebody, they're going to sue you anyway. They may drop the lawsuit later on, but you're going to have to disclose things that are out there. Now, with a land trust, I like to say that if you're going to buy a property to live in, and can you put it into a land trust? Sure. I think in that case, you may want to create a actual trust arrangement to give you some more protection out there if you want to. And if you're going to live in it as your personal property, make sure it has provisions that allow you to file for your homestead exemption along the way. Next is if you're going to do a fix and flip on a property, can you do it inside of a land trust? Sure. But if you're buying that house and you're buying it subject to the existing debt, let's say, I have no objection to buying it inside of a land trust. It does help create some space between you and the underlying lender out there. If you're going to buy the property as a rental property, I have no objection at all to buying it inside of a land trust and holding it there in that instance. Again, we don't have any issues, and it does give you some benefits in disguising this transaction when there is an existing mortgage that you bought it subject to from that underlying lender. Now, on the flip side, if you're going to be doing a wraparound mortgage, I'm not a fan of buying a house into a land trust, because as soon as you sell the house to the back-end buyer, you have violated due on sale again at that point. And the land trust doesn't provide you anything. In fact, I would prefer to hold that back for future purposes. And there's so much maneuvering you can do in between if you want to, but it costs a lot of money to do that. And so I always like to stick to the keep it simple, stupid, scenario out there and say, we'll cross that bridge when we need it if we have a problem. So if I know I'm going to be doing a wrap around the back end, the great odds are I'm not buying that house into a land trust. But know what the differences are. Know who the beneficiary is. Know who the trustee is. With a land trust, guys, the ownership is not in the trust. The ownership is actually in the trustee. And so it would be ABC Land Trust, so-and-so trustee, or so-and-so trustee for the ABC Land Trust. Great. Set up your ownership correctly. Make sure you write that into your contract correctly. Know who's doing it. Know who signs out there, which is the trustee. And can you have a corporate trustee in a land trust? You can, but still someone's going to have to sign off on that. And one thing you need to think about, guys, is as you do all this, is just some of the costs and expenses of your paperwork along the way, because it takes more time to draft that paperwork with all of these various people that have to be identified for signature purposes when you're selling the property. So again, as you're buying a property, realize there's a time and place to buy it inside of a corporate entity. There's a time and place to possibly put it inside of a trust. How do you disguise some things? I always like to say, if you're dealing with a individual who's selling the property, who might have a lien at home through a private individual or a small commercial bank of some type, or through maybe a small mortgage company, maybe we want to put that into that land trust for that very purpose and do a few things differently, because there's a good chance they may determine very quickly that the property has been sold, and now we got to deal with due on sale issues that we want to try to avoid. So guys, hope you all found the video helpful. If you did, take a minute and like it. Don't forget to comment. Do our best to answer those for you. Come see us over on our YouTube channel and join us there, and we'll see you guys next time.